Hi, my name is Joanna Whitney. I am an intuitive artist, a student of natural law, and an energy practitioner. And we are in the process of reading this book, The Kybalion, by the Three Initiates. And we're on page 65, chapter 9, about vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. The Kybalion. And before I get into that, I just gave it some thought today, what that actually means. How does vibration manifest itself in my life, practically? And I would say emotions are the most powerful vibrations that I personally experience, even though everything is vibrating. Everything inside my body is vibrating at all times. I would say for me, though, emotions are the most obvious example of practical application of natural law. And so I was thinking about that. I was thinking about how I used to be and how I am now, and how the law of vibration, how I use the law of vibration, the context of this for me, and how it might be true for others as well. So I grew up in an extremely dysfunctional family, and so my emotions were constantly up and constantly down, and I got into that rhythm of wanting my emotions always to be up, but I didn't really know that what goes up must come down. So I was constantly up, and then later I'd be totally down. And I didn't know how to keep my emotions up all the time. So I participated in worldly activities to try to keep my emotions up. And I would fail at that regularly. And so I would cause harm to others in my attempts to try to keep my emotions up, using, outside stimulants, emotional stimulants. And so I created a lot of havoc because I would violate the law of cause and effect. I was reaping what I sowed, which was, me trying to selfishly get things from other people at any cost so that I could feel up at all times. And it just created more and more polarized vibratory energy. And then finally, eventually, I just had to give up what I was doing and start to rebuild from scratch, because I never learned how to just be neutral and calm and be happy with neutrality. So I had to, my nervous system just wasn't, geared to that. My nervous system was geared to being on extreme alert at all times. So it took many years for me to come into balance emotionally. And I just wanted to say that, I don't know who's out there, what people are going through, but that I would say would be the goal, would be to find emotional balance and learn to modulate emotional energy within the body. Otherwise, it will cause physical imbalances eventually. And, when you're in that state of being polarized in one extreme or another, we're much more controllable. And neutrality allows us to make informed decisions slowly, which, back then I couldn't even imagine doing that. But, I wound down over time. And now it's the most important thing to me is to be emotionally neutral as much as possible. And I do notice, that social media tries to make me go back into being polarized on one side or another. But it is my current focus to deepen my spiritual experience and my spiritual practice by focusing on my emotional vibration and the vibration of my energy inside my body, and then what I project outward. And so, again, that took a long time for me. First, I had to see that that there was a problem. I had to clean up harms I'd caused to other people. That started to even out my energy. Pay back all the money I owed, because I got into a spending frenzy because of modulating my emotional energy. And I got out of credit card debt, and I haven't gone back to that. So I'm, fine with that. So I don't participate in the system that way. And they can't control me that way either. I had to forgive my parents because I just had to decide that this was my path. My parents did the best they could with what they had, even though what they did was terrible. It didn't matter because I just had to accept the path. And cleaning up harms caused to others, financially, as well as broken promises and slander, gossip, and the theft, things I did, I had to clean all that up. And in so doing, again, my emotional energy settled down quite a bit as a result of that. Because, the thing is we have a conscience, each of us. Each of us is endowed with a conscience, whether we block it out or not. We know right from wrong, humans. And if I violate that, it's going to cause my internal energy to be unbalanced. So as I cleaned that up over time, my emotional energy became balanced, and all of my energy became balanced. I would just say, for me, it's all emotional, but I know that my organs are all buzzing, and my blood and my ethereal energy is buzzing away too. And I know that cleaning up all the wreckage of my emotional energy has balanced out my other ethereal energy inside my body. And then I'm just looking at my notes here. After that, I had to focus on my tone of voice. Like, I also had like a violent streak. I used to yell and go into fits of rage. To me, that's emotional energy modulation once again. And I had to stop doing that, which was very difficult. I am not really sure how I did it, except over time and maturity. Eventually, I stopped doing it. And also, I think because I had a relationship that I knew intuitively wouldn't survive if I continued behaving that way, I eventually was able to stop and get a hold of myself through doing things like running out of the house. When I felt the volcano surge up through my body, I would just run out of the house and like run around the block, or bicycle, go for a bike ride, and spend some of that energy so that I wouldn't spew it upon the people that I love and the animals that I love. So tone of voice is a huge issue. I think people probably should think about that. I think it's pretty radical these days to try to modulate our tone of voice, and try to listen to ourselves, try to have an even keeled tone and not participate in sarcasm. That was another thing I was really good at, sarcasm, but I had to give it up. Also, I had to start to just smile like this, just raise my mouth corners up, because I found out from Montauk Chia, I believe it was, that if I would do that, it would change my nervous system. So I began doing that. I got into a habit of having a pleasant expression on my face that, they claim that it takes less energy to smile than it does to frown. But to me, frowning came much more easily. But it didn't matter. I just had to exert that effort towards changing my vibration that way through smiling, just having a pleasant smile on my face. At some point, I had to give up flirting because that was totally dishonest, since I'm in a relationship. Yeah, it's just a dishonest way to try to figure out how to get more than is my share. So yeah, I mean, energy modulation, I think our emotional energy modulation is probably like one of the biggest imbalances that we all have to deal with. And I think that the dark occult Luciferians play right into that through so many different ways, giving us so many ways to distract ourselves and to be able to enjoy emotional ups and downs, or distract ourselves by, anytime you have an emotional response, you just disassociate. And there's so many distractions and ways to disassociate. So, I mean, I think that I just wanted to point that out as a practical way to look at the law of vibration, because it can seem very abstract when you just read it out of this book. So now I'm going to just read. It says, the great third Hermetic principle, the principle of vibration, embodies the truth that motion is manifest in everything in the universe, that nothing is at rest, that everything moves, vibrates, and circles. This Hermetic principle was recognized by some of the early Greek philosophers who embodied it in their systems, but then for centuries it was lost sight of by the thinkers outside of the Hermetic ranks. But in the 19th century, physical science rediscovered the truth, and the 20th century scientific discoveries have added additional proof of the correctness and truth of this centuries old Hermetic doctrine. The Hermetic teachings are that not only is everything in constant movement and vibration, but that the differences between the various manifestations of the universal power are due entirely to the varying rate and mode of vibrations. Not only this, but that even the all in itself manifests a constant vibration of such an infinite degree of intensity and rapid motion that it may be practically considered as at rest. The teachers directing the attention of the students to the fact that even on the physical plane, a rapidly moving object such as a revolving wheel seems to be at rest. The teachings are to the effect that spirit is at one end of the pole of vibration, and the other pole being certain extremely gross forms of matter. Between these two poles are millions upon millions of different rates and modes of vibration. So, obviously, once I can attain power over my emotional energy modulation, then I can attempt to align myself with the all, which is what I want to do. And what also came to mind was that I participate in activities just by observing them. So, this is just important information. Like if you go to a football game and they do a satanic ritual at the halftime show, and you stare at that and are participating in that, you are participating in it by watching it because of the power of observation, and you align your visual ocular sense to that which is being affected upon us. So we have to be super careful. Our eyes as vibrational tools are our most powerful sense. So you will know, the more work you do, the more you concentrate and pay attention, you will know what you're supposed to be looking at and what you're not supposed to be looking at. And this does not mean to ignore the dark. and extremely terrible things that are going on in the world, but to decide what you're going to participate in and what you're not going to participate in. And like also, you know, you could be asked to violate your conscience at a job. And if you go along with that, then you are lowering your vibration to that of the lower form. And sometimes you might have to risk losing your job in order to keep your vibration high. But then you have to trust that by doing that, you're going to draw into yourself something much better for yourself. Okay. Let's see, where am I? Modern science has proven that all that we call matter and energy are but modes of vibratory motion, and some of the more advanced scientists are rapidly moving toward the positions of the occultists who hold that the phenomena of mind are likewise modes of vibration or motion. Let us see what science has to say regarding the question of vibrations in matter and energy. Now, remember, this was written in 1908, and that was before the derailment of Big Pharma in 1924. And we're just now coming back to this now. You know, we're coming back to accepting energy medicine as as the truth, you know, that energy, that everything's made of energy through quantum physics. And even Psychology Today has created a subtitle called Energy Psychology. They're finally accepting that using basically a form of Chinese medicine and or Ayurvedic medicine is a powerful modality. Changing your vibration, basically, either by removing trapped emotions that are bogging down your vibration by being unprocessed, and or other methods of individual practice, such as Qigong or yoga or other forms of meditation, Hermetic meditation. These all will help you to modulate your own inner energy. In the first place, science teaches that all matter manifests in some degree, the vibrations arising from temperature or heat. But be an object cold or hot, both being but degrees of the same things, it manifests certain heat vibrations, and in that sense is in motion and vibration. Then all particles of matter are in circular movement from corpuscle to suns. Basically, that means from the tiniest tiny to the great sun, and that engages the law of correspondence, which is the previous chapter, as above, so below, as within, so without. And many of them turn on their axes. The suns move around greater central points, and these are believed to move around still greater, and so on ad infinitum. The molecules of which the particular kinds of matter are composed are in a state of constant vibration and movement around each other and against each other. The molecules are composed of atoms, which likewise are in a state of constant movement and vibration. The atoms are composed of corpuscles, sometimes called electrons, ions, etc., which also are in a state of rapid motion, revolving around each other, and which manifest a very rapid state and mode of vibration. And so we see that all forms of matter manifest vibration in accordance with the Hermetic principle of vibration. And so it is with the various forms of energy. Science teaches that light, heat, magnetism, and electricity are but forms of vibratory motion connected in some way with and probably emanating from the ether. Again, the ether has been occulted and is only recently sort of being accepted again. It is what Chinese medicine refers to as qi. It is the all. It is prana. And you know, the thing about it is, I think that the dark occult Luciferians would like to pollute the ether and take control of the ether. And I think that's what they're doing with chemtrails. But I don't think they can ever do it, because ether is actually situated in the fourth dimension. And you can see it in a tarot card. I'm not sure if I have one that I can just grab right this second, but let's see if I can find one. Oh, here we go. The Ace of Pentacles. See? Whoop. The Ace of Pentacles. Whoop. Sorry about this. There's the Ace of Pentacles. I don't know if you can see this backwards or not, but it is a hand reaching out from a cloud, and I would say that the cloud is the ether. So they can try all they like to pollute the ether, but they never will be able to, because it's not in this dimension. And I mean, I'm sure that they're messing around with other dimensions, as they like to show us in shows like Stranger Things and Fringe, and the X-Files and all that. But that doesn't mean that they can really do much damage. I don't believe they can, because they are of the dark. And this universe is based on the light. So I'm not going to worry about that. I mean, I do believe I have a responsibility to educate myself about this stuff and make myself as strong as I possibly can in these principles and in embodying these principles. But I don't think that they're going to win by any means, except maybe for a few people that completely surrender to their techniques. All right, where am I? And so it is with the various forms of energy. Did I read this already? Oh, I did read that. Okay. The universal ether, which is postulated by science without its nature being understood clearly, is held by the Hermetists to be but a higher manifestation of that which is erroneously called matter. That is to say, matter at a higher degree of vibration, and is called by them the ethereal substance. The Hermetists teach that this ethereal substance is of extreme tenuity and elasticity and pervades universal space, serving as a medium of transmission of waves of vibratory energy such as heat, light, electricity, magnetism, etc. And we are using it for Wi-Fi and telecommunications, etc. as well. The teachings are that the ethereal substance is a connecting link between the forms of vibratory energy known as matter on the one hand and energy or force on the other, and also that it manifests a degree of vibration in rate and mode entirely its own. And that could only happen if it was not in this dimension. So when we connect to God through prayer, we dip into unity consciousness. And that is our prerogative to do that. We're here in the 3D, but we can also dip into unity consciousness through humility and through practice of modulating our energies. And that's how we're going to stay safe through all this. But there's so much more that can be learned and accomplished through exploring these modalities, you know, like I said, through Qigong, yoga, and other Hermetic practices. Until next time.